if I give you a compliment, that takes away from me. So I'm not going to do that because I can't handle me taking away from me. Already the world takes so much from me. So I can't give you a compliment, right? That's where a lot of people spend their time and space in.
I really believe, to your point, this is why this episode is so important, because there is a huge difference between arrogance and confidence. And when you can stop villainizing confidence, you can actually start embodying that energy yourself. Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
And it's Emilia.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are helping growth-minded humans evolve by breaking one limiting belief at a time. We hope you enjoyed the last episode, 239, How to Show Up as Your Best Self in Any Room. For today, number 240, the difference between arrogance and confidence. I think this is something that honestly a lot of us have a hard time with, because we see people who just present this energy, right? Like they think they're the best thing in the world. They don't have any problems. You know, they're just this booming like presence. And we struggle with the idea or the understanding of, is this person confident or are they just full of themselves? And how do you know the difference? And honestly, a lot of people, I think, get really hurt by this because we can kind of get hoodwinked by that. We get hoodwinked by, you know, seeing people who seem like they have it all and they know it all. But then you really talk to them and it's like, oh my God, you are not the energy that you're presenting. So what is the actual difference between arrogance and confidence? There's a lot underneath it, and we're going to dive into that. But I want to use Emilia. I'm going to use you as a case example. You and Alan. I'm going to use both of you.
Definitely.
So you and Alan, I know you two better than anybody, and you guys know me better than anybody, and we've had so many dialogues and conversations about the way that you guys have been perceived in the world, and the way that people have really viewed the two of you, and the things that you've heard and things that people have said. And for a really big majority of both of your lives, you both have been told that you're just arrogant, conceited, full of yourselves. You think your shit doesn't stink. Like these really, that's true. These really negative aspects, because you two really know yourselves at a deep level, and you know who you are, and you do project that energy of like, I know who I am. I know what I want, and I'm going to go after it. And because people have had so many negative experiences with people like that, and honestly, because it's really triggering if you're, you know, insecure, or you have low self-worth or low self-belief, to see somebody like that. Because it's like, oh my God, all of your protectors are coming up, and it's like, run away, self-protect.
Yeah.
And you two have both been called arrogant very often. And people like Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and all of these people who have really created substantial change in the world have all been called arrogant and conceited and self-centered. And I think it's because of this challenge that people go through of not knowing the difference between, are you arrogant? Is this person arrogant? Or are they just confident and they know who they are? So tell us a little bit about what that's been like for you, and what that experience has been like, and what really are the differences between you and your confidence versus somebody who is just arrogant.
Ooh. All right. So I'll put out there, I feel so uncomfortable right now, and it's good. I love it.
Challenging
it's
the
cool.
hell out of you in this
I
episode
appreciate
right now.
this so much. And I'm really hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful that this version of me is received well by our listeners, because honestly, I don't get asked this question ever because of what it is and how uncomfortable the conversation can be to either engage with me in or to listen to or even partake in. So this will be a really, really good one. I'm so grateful for the question. So honestly, it brings up a lot of sadness emotions for me, and a lot of like hurt, and a lot of really on the more negative valence. So like unpleasant emotions it brings up for me, because it has the concept of arrogance. So let me just say for our listeners, why does this matter? Why does it matter to understand the difference between arrogance and confidence? And one of the biggest things that I can say before I get into your answer is that to understand the difference will really help you see more accurately. And when you can see more accurately, you can build more authentic relationships. I can't tell you how many people have brushed away a relationship because their initial appraisal of some person was arrogant, instead of actually trying to see the difference between arrogance and confidence, because of the fact that their insecurities were protecting them from actually seeing the difference. Okay, so with that said, the difference from my perspective between arrogance and confidence. Arrogance is someone that, the best way I could describe it is someone that's so self-absorbed that they are actually rejective of any help or any other feedback input from other people. So shut down because they literally think they are the best and never need to better the best. So there's a fundamental difference there from my perspective between an arrogant person, because they literally reject any input, any feedback, any mirror that they could ever look into that would ever call into question their own reflective thoughts of themselves.
Another huge part of that is they're usually incredibly insecure.
Yes.
These people have to boast about themselves and speak about themselves in the way that they do because they're masking a deep sense of inferiority.
Right.
So it's like, I'm the best. Nobody's better than me. I'm hot shit. You'll hear girls be like, I'm a bad bitch, blah, 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 blah. It's like, if you ever hear someone say that, they're insecure. Because true confidence, like if you see someone who just, they really are confident, they will never say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to.
Their energy speaks for them.
Exactly. Someone who's arrogant, this could either be like they are really misguided in their beliefs and they really do just think that like they're the best thing walking on earth. And if that's the case, I'd be curious if they have delusions of grandeur. But not everyone is to that extreme. But so most people who do have that sense of like, I'm the best thing in the world, I don't need help from anybody, I can do it on my own, blah, 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 they're usually masking an insecurity and a sense of inferiority.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the bigger difference between arrogance and confidence there, on the other hand, from my perspective, given what I've studied, given what I've personally experienced, confidence is actually where you still have those positive images, positive beliefs, more like I would say courageous and higher self-esteem beliefs about yourself. However, you're always open to the mirrors. You're always open to other people's feedback, their inputs, and you have and hold a perspective that you can always get better. And it doesn't come from a place of insecurity, but rather a place of abundance, a place of aspiration. And so that's the camp that I've always lived in. So when I say this conversation brings up some really, I don't want to say hard emotions. I'm really grateful for them. And I feel when I do feel those more lower valence, unpleasant emotions kind of come up, I've actually made a lot of space for them because it's helped me to be who I am. one of the things I did a 360 feedback review from what's called an emotional capital report. Essentially, it takes 56 different components of someone's personality, and it rates you extremely deep on what your biggest strengths and weaknesses are. Now, that stuff I've always been leaning into. Personality tests, trying to understand and uncover who I am at the deepest levels. What are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? Because not only do I want to double down on my strengths and bring those more into the world and help serve people in that regard, but also I want to be mindful of what my blind spots are, what my weaknesses are. And on that report, and I've taken it multiple times, my biggest statistically abnormality of my personality has been self-confidence. Blows out of the water anyone else.
That's awesome.
And even my coach at the time, she said she's been coaching for 30 years. She's like, I've never seen anyone with these ratings. So with that said, you can imagine someone who is on the statistical far end of self-confidence, how much challenge that has been. And I say that, but yet you actually can't imagine that. When you're the one that's extremely confident and humble to feedback, to mirrors, to even criticism, and even completely having your beliefs changed, everyone takes a snap judgment of you. And it easily writes you off, puts you into what's called a villain category. And so for my entire life, for many, many of my interactions, I've received criticisms before anyone gives a compliment first. I have received villainization comments around what I suck at and pointing out all of my flaws before I've ever received gratitude. And so living a life like that, one could ask, like, how do you stay in this energy? Well, over time, I haven't. I've tried to, but don't get me wrong, some of that stuff really does hurt. And then, it takes you through a journey of remaining humble, but also because of what and who I've built myself to be, I also see the insecurities of others. And I see where people are really arrogant, and it makes me sad. And then there's compassion for those people who might lash out at someone like me who has high self-confidence. I know what the heck I want. I know where my flaws are. I know where they are. And I'm always open to more feedback of that. That energy has been really hard, especially around the avoidance factor. There's a lot of people that avoid me.
Hello, everybody. My name is Derek Smith, and I'm the department head of the Evolve Venture Society page. I just wanted to come on here and talk about my time at Evolve and being a team member. It's been nothing short of phenomenal. And I don't say that as somebody just trying to hype up the team or the business or anything like that. No, it's genuine. And like genuinely, I've never been a part of such a group, had people that were so invested in me, being able to keep me accountable and like pushing and really just supporting me for my own growth. And the amount of things that I've been able to help and influence, manage in myself, learn about, and just being a part of this community, all under the guidance of Bianca and Emilia, for me, that's just been phenomenal. So my time here has just been very, very blessed. So thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Bianca. You guys rock.
I think the reason why people can't give confident people a compliment is because of this arrogance confidence thing.
Of course. We
automatically assume that someone who's confident is arrogant, and we're like, well, I'm not going to compliment them. They need to be taken a peg down. No, honestly, like we unconsciously think that. It's like, I'm not going to compliment them. They already think they're full of it.
Right. They're already full of it. Yeah.
It's like, why am I going to compliment you?
Right. You already get that all the time, right? It's like, no.
Yeah. I'll give you a perfect example. You and I have talked about this, and I'm going to get really vulnerable here for a second. Okay. You and I have talked about the fact that we rarely ever get told that we're beautiful by like anybody.
Yep.
It was like a couple of weeks ago, we were on a call and you just randomly stopped and were like, B, you're so beautiful. And I was like, what? I was so thrown off. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, like you're so stunning. And I was like, I was so blown away because nobody tells me that.
Yeah.
like it's very rare that I'll get that from a genuine space. Like people on social media and whatever, they're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, whatever. But like, it's very rare that someone will actually just sit down and look at me and be like, you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
None of my exes did that. None of my rarely in my family do people do that. Why? Because they don't think I need it. Their insecurities come out and they have a hard time telling me things because they're comparing themselves to me, and so they're not going to say anything. Like I said this to you and Alan. I was like, I don't think any of my exes have ever like genuinely just complimented me.
Yeah.
And been like, you're so beautiful or whatever. Maybe in the beginning, but once it got closer and once all of the insecurities and the fears and the challenges started to come out, it was like all of that went away.
Yeah.
And then confident people like you and I, it's like, did we do something wrong?
Right. It's hard not to internalize that.
It is so hard not to internalize that. It's like, why does no one say anything to me? Why does no one talk to me? Why does no one so on and so forth? And it's this exact thing. It's like, they don't need it. I'm not going to go out of my way to compliment them. I'm not going to go out of my way because then I would have to, what would I feel in that? What does that bring up for me?
Well, here's the thing. Sorry, keep going.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, like, I'll use another example. Beyonce Knowles.
Yeah.
Extraordinary energy, ultra confidence, like just the epitome of like a booming energy. From a distance, people can rave about her. But if she was actually standing there in front of you, embodying the energy that she was embodying, a lot of people couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
People in her own life probably struggle being around her. Why? Because she actually embodies confidence, not arrogance, not conceit, confidence. She's growth-minded. She's willing to learn. She'll take criticism. She will, admit when she's wrong, so on and so forth. That is extremely intimidating. And because we have so many negative experiences with people who actually are arrogant, because there's more arrogant people than truly confident people, people can't spot the difference anymore. So it's like anyone who's confident is arrogant. So I'm not going to compliment you. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. So I really believe, to your point, this is why this episode is so important, because there is a huge difference between arrogance and confidence. And when you can stop villainizing confidence, you can actually start embodying that energy yourself. Because you know the characteristics and the qualities underneath that, and you can work towards it.
One of the biggest things that I want to share in this is that the biggest, and also I want to call out the difference between a zero-sum mindset and someone who, for example, if I give you a compliment, that takes away from me. So I'm not going to do that because I can't handle me taking away from me. Already the world takes so much from me. So I can't give you a compliment, right? That's where a lot of people spend their time and space in. And so when you're listening to this, I hope that this episode really does help you kind of see a new perspective, because likely there's someone in your life right now that you've had internal thoughts where maybe there was a compliment that a part of you gave, but yet it didn't get externalized. You didn't give that to that person, or gratitude, or just an acknowledgement, right? Words of affirmation. There's probably someone in your life right now that you've had that thought, but yet suppressed it. And the reason underneath that is because there's an unconscious belief that if you give that, it'll take away from you. It'll make you less. And then they'd be more. And if that were the case, what would that mean? And the difference in that is, imagine a space where you could be, which is possible. This can be developed and acquired through guidance and coaching and all of these things. Imagine a space where you look at that same version of you and you actually don't have that mindset, where you can give compliments, you can give words of affirmation, you can give just mere moments like that to people in your life that you care about, and even a random stranger, abundantly, freely, without a feeling of loss, just like I did with Bianca. I can sit there and say that full abundance without feeling anything because of the abundance that I cultivate within me through actual confidence building. I wouldn't be able to do that if I had insecurities about my own self and I didn't make room for those and I didn't make love on those, because those would end up driving. And therefore I would never externalize any words of affirmation to anyone else. I would never give anyone positive feedback, like anything, and think about that. I was kind of laughing and giggling when you had brought up something a little bit earlier, because I remember being, when I was single and when I would be dating or meeting guys or whatever, I would always hear, I know you've already received this, but your eyes are beautiful. Right. And I know you've already probably heard this, but you're so beautiful. It's like interesting. If I look back at those experiences, along with things that I've heard, like, well, there's no possible way that someone who's as beautiful, has these eyes, has this, the hair, the butt, the this, the that, like going into listing all of my external qualities, is also smart, is also kind, is also not crazy, is also like this, right? Listing my internal and external success, if you will, status bringing things, right?
And
is
you
also
must hear it
philanthropic.
all the time.
Right.
That comment inherently is met, like it inherently suggests that, oh, you probably hear this all the time. Like I was at the grocery store 2 weeks ago. Some guy literally stopped me and said that. He's like, you probably hear this all the time, but, and then he started going into compliment, and I'm like, why do you need to put the disclaimer?
Right.
Like
right.
I appreciated it, but like, you have no idea. We assume
Right.
that people hear it all the time. And it's like, you know what? They probably don't.
They don't. Period.
Because
They
we
don't.
have this fear of this arrogance thing, or we fear confident people because it somehow, to your exact point, if I compliment your confidence, I'm less than.
Right.
And so we can't do that. If you really want to start working through this, I would suggest looking at the parts of you that feel insecure. Look at the parts of you that are really triggered by a confident person and really start looking at, why do I feel so triggered by them?
Yeah.
What is it about them that makes me feel less than? What am I communicating to myself? Let me rephrase that. What am I communicating to myself about them that I am less than?
Yeah.
And how can I start to flip that? Because then we won't be so afraid of confident people, and more of us will be able to build really adaptive, healthy, functional confidence. And we'll start to be able to tell the difference between someone who's arrogant from a place of insecurity versus someone who is confident, to Emilia's point, from a very abundant, whole, fulfilling place. And we won't be afraid to compliment each other anymore. Because me telling Emilia how beautiful and extraordinary she is does not mean that I am not that too.
Yeah. And imagine also, like, imagine if you were able to be more surrounded by confident, like actually confident people, how much more your life could become, how quicker you could develop your own confidence. But yet, because there's an unconscious fear or unconscious insecurity that typically drives a lot of people, you look around and the confidence that's within their friend groups or within their closest relationships is not. It's actually arrogant, and it's actually really fake confidence. And then we wonder why we become less in terms of our capabilities and our own levels of self-esteem and self-confidence. It's likely because there's an insecurity and a zero-sum mindset driving that. If I were to give this to that person, I would become less. And they might not see me for the glory that I am. And so it's just, it comes down to, understanding the difference and understanding how important this difference is when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to dating, when it comes to your boss, right? You might think that your boss is extremely arrogant. Well, have you ever gone deeper and learned a little bit more about them and their struggles, their challenges, So it's just a way of thinking. And I think that if you're struggling with confidence, there's likely something here for you in this episode. If you struggle developing real confidence, it's likely something that we've talked about in here. And so if you want more guidance, more help in this arena, trust me, I've seen people do the work and actually cultivate real confidence from an authentic and abundant space. Bianca, you're a great example. You know,
appreciate that. Thank you.
Genuinely. Yeah. And so, you know, if you can do it, our listeners can do it too.
100%. I mean, I very much was that person. Like when I first met Emilia, I struggled being around her. Yeah. It's just the truth. I struggled being around her because she was everything I wanted to be, but I wanted to be that more than I wanted to shame her, more than I wanted to like be mad at her. So I really worked through the limiting beliefs that were coming up that caused me to feel the way that I did. And I really put the work in. Yeah. And I'm the most confident I've ever been. I'm the most abundant I've ever been. And not perfect. I'm not, you know, I still have my insecurities. I still struggle with things, but like, that's okay. Confidence does not mean that you don't have insecurities. Confidence means I have the things that I'm confident about and I know it and I own it. I have
and
the
I'm
things
okay with struggling.
And I have the things that I'm insecure about and I own it and I work on it. And I'm willing and I'm not afraid to say, I'm insecure about this. I'm working on it. Mm-hmm. That is the truest testament of arrogance versus confidence. You already said it in the beginning. It's the humility to own it. Yeah. The humility to say, this is what I can work on. Here are the things that I can do. Here's where I'm messing up. And this is what I'm going to do to work on it. And honestly, that's why, to your point, being around confident people will make you more confident. Mm-hmm. Who are the only 3 people I spend my time with? You, Alan, and Kevin. And not really so much Kevin anymore, but you and Alan and my future self, who I'm always talking to, who I'm always, you know, connecting with. Mm-hmm. And that allowed me to become the woman that I am, to do the things that I'm doing. And let's be real. A lot of people are going to hear the fact that I just said that and they're going to want to turn this off and feel insecure about themselves. Mm-hmm. And the reason I know that is because I would have done the same thing. Sit in the feeling, you guys. Sit in it. Own your insecurities. Acknowledge it. It's not going to kill you. Mm. If you can own it, you can work on it. And you can go from being the drastically insecure, feeling inferior, feeling worthless person that I was to now being confident, to knowing your worth, knowing your value, and continuing to grow and progress and transform and evolve on that.
It's such an important skill. My goodness. I'm really grateful for you creating the space for this dialogue. I appreciate that. And everyone who's joined us today and reached towards this point in the episode, I'm proud of you, because this is definitely one of those topics that doesn't get enough conversation because it can feel sticky to some of our parts and feel prickly and feel uncomfortable. So good on you if you made it this far. I would say that my episode suggestion is 161, which is another motivational Monday. The problem isn't always what you think, ... And I think that that's a good one to jump to. Between Bianca and I's, both of them are great. But I really will advocate for this one. Because I think that this is a great kind of dip your toe into assumptions and whatever problems that we think we have or are challenged with. Oftentimes we need a little bit of that humility dose.
You're so arrogant. Why would you say your episode is better than mine?
I didn't. Oh, man. See, that's a great example. Oh, we're kidding. We're just joking. I love everything playful.
Fully playful. Fully playful. Mine is number 56, how to transform your inner outcast feeling. Arrogance comes from insecurity. If you can start to work on that, you can start to evolve it into true confidence. All right, everybody. We hope you have a beautiful week. If you want more resources, maybe you're not fully ready to do coaching yet. Maybe you're not, in a place where you feel comfortable showing up to the free events that we do. We have so many resources available. And one of the newer ones that we recently started was the Evolve articles. If you go to evolveventurestech.com, we have, 6 articles now on there, 6 or 7.
Yeah,
and we produce a new one every single Sunday. So head over to evolveventurestech.com, read those articles, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.